Hey there. Still actually September 9th, 2015, Wednesday, comic book day. We're in the third part of this week's reviews. In part one, I reviewed some Marvel stuff. In part two, I reviewed some DC stuff. And now we're moving on to some indie stuff. First up is Americatown, issue 2. And if you remember last month, I picked up the first issue of this, and I thought it was an interesting premise, but the execution was a bit slapdash. I couldn't really follow what was going on. Unfortunately, this issue doesn't really help things. We jump in the middle of things with this character Owen waking up after a raid for medical supplies that I can't remember if it happened last issue or not. I really can't remember much of what happened last issue. I know there was 2 people on a submarine, and then there was some sort of sneaking around, and yeah, it was all just kind of a big, messy blur. And I mean, this issue feels a bit cleaner. We're only really following one thing happening at a time. We're not jumping around a bunch of different time periods here. But this introduces a lot of characters really fast, without really explaining who they are or why they're important, and just kind of throws them all at a wall, and expects us to just kind of get it, and I don't. It's yeah, it's going way too fast. This book, it's not integrating us too much. It's not dropping us into the middle of nowhere and saying, okay, so here's what here are the tools, go figure everything out either, which is an approach to storytelling. It's throwing us in the middle of everything and then not giving us a chance to get acclimated. It's throwing us in the middle. It's not giving us any one character to especially follow and say, here's your surrogate, follow that guy. It's just kind of throwing everything at you at once, and not saying what's important, who, this is the main character or anything. These are the relationships. It's just a big mess, and I like some things they're trying to do. Like, I like how they introduced this politician who's very anti-immigrant, kind of like a Donald Trump, John Boner sort of character, and I like him. I like the way he's presented in the story, but that's about it. Everything else is just really messy. There's just a ton of characters introduced, a ton of plot devices introduced, that we're all supposed to already know and see as important and treat as oh my god, this guy again. Yeah, it's just not good. Again, I really like the premise. I want to like this book a lot, but it just isn't good. Unfortunately, I can't recommend it, and I'm not gonna keep reading it. Next up, we have Injection, issue number 5, and this book I am liking a lot. Actually, this book I'm finding it increasingly hard not to recommend. The first few issues, first 3 issues or so, were a slower burn. But now the water's boiling, so to speak. We've reached a boil. Things are really happening. And we get a few reveals in this issue that really, if you've been reading, make things very worth it. So we start with Maria kind of exploring, going on her latest mission against the Injection, using the knowledge that she learned from Robin about the Injection, using the kind of fairy tale tropes and mechanics, and using that successfully in order to cure people. So as she goes into this cave, she finds the infection, and she remembers that the way to get rid of this, that in the folklore, is to get people to remove their clothing. And so they take off their clothing, and everything starts falling off of them, because that's the rules that the Injection works by. And so we're seeing everything really come together. We have a flashback to Robin and Bridget as they're working on the project, and we see Robin give Bridget a piece of the Injection, a necessary piece that he says is code. Like, he supplies her with the consciousness that becomes the Injection. And we have this great little point here as he's leaving, after doing this, where Bridget asks where his umbrella is, and Robin says, "I didn't have an umbrella," and the rain is completely missing him. But he says, "I'm not a wizard," even though he's like doing this magic. It's really, really fun dialogue in this book. And then we find out just like more about the injection. We see the injection more in action here, and I can show off this page as Maria fights off the injection, and I really don't want to spoil what happens here, but it's just it really flips everything that it flips how you read the book, and it makes you want to go back to the later issues and see, okay, now that we know something else about the injection and something else about the structure of the book, you know, how does that change things? Yeah, it's just this is definitely a turning point. This is a part of the book that makes you want to go back and reread things and see, okay, what did I miss? Now that I have this information, how does that change how I read and how I'm going to read this book going forward? It's just very good. It's very Warren Ellis. It covers a lot of the things. It covers the mysticism, the marriage of magic and technology that Warren Ellis is kind of like very much in his wheelhouse. But I can't really think that's a demerit. You know, say, oh, this author's just doing what I expect this author to do. Doesn't really sound like a negative. It's an observation, but I can't fault the book for being something that Warren Ellis would create. You know, and it really is just so good. It's finally coming together. You're finally seeing all those pieces that were introduced in the earlier books that kind of felt a little garden traily, you know, reach their conclusion, mingle with everything else in the book, but there's still a lot of mystery. It's just very, very good storytelling, very good characterization. The dialogue's great. Just the mechanics of this world are really fun to watch unfurl or come together, whatever. Cleave, I guess, because Cleave can mean both. So yeah, very, very enjoyable book, Injection. Pick it up. And the last book in this video is Bitch Planet number 5. Waited a while for this one, and it was worth it. Here we actually, I mean, it's just, so much of this book is great. We start with a newscast documenting the game between the non-compliance and the professional Megaton team. And there's this great bit that the sportscaster is saying over here, how they're wondering, well, why is this happening, you know? And they don't even blame the jails at all. They think, oh, it's the woman. It's that they have excess testosterone, too much man humor, or whatever, that has to be excised on the field. And so you already have, you know, jumping in, first page here, you have the victim blaming, the blaming the women for, you know, actions they're not in control of, which is great. And then we have a long part here that's two men in this book talking to one another, getting under each other's skin, and we see more of the world outside of Bitch Planet and how it's still toxic. You still have this toxic masculinity where we have, it's very much like a jock culture. It's very, you know, dog eat dog. Even between men who are supposed to be equals, it's who's the strongest man. And that stronger man just gets to order the weaker man around, gets under his skin, tells him, okay, this is what you're going to do, no matter what you want to do. I'm telling you to do this, and I'm the stronger man, and there's nothing else you can do. And even though these are two powerful men, two rich men, the weaker of the two still has to be utterly subservient, or he will be punished. And that it's like, yeah, just the way this world works is very interesting and very thought-provoking. We then cut to the girls in the locker room getting ready for their first game, a practice game against the guards, and we see how they all interact, and they're discussing their strategy, discussing their game plan. As each woman is talked to, we get a short introduction of who they are and why they're in prison. And we see stuff. So we got their their mugshot over here, and it's this character is Katrina Cat, 145 pounds, in prison for seduction and disappointment emotional manipulation. So we really see like these aren't crimes, and they're still being prosecuted by the law for these things for being non-compliant, which is kind of the running thing in the book. And we have the girls discussing, they're practicing against the guards. The guards have no weapon, and it's okay to tackle them. And everyone's like really happy, like, yeah, let's do this. Let's fucking beat up some guards, And we see kind of the game of Megaton in action. It's very kind of football, kind of rugby meets football sort of thing. Each player has to run to the other side of the field in order to score a goal. No holds bars. And we begin with the woman just throwing the guards around, getting in their face, knocking them all to the ground, scoring really easily against them, until the guards decide to change the rules. And once they start changing the rules, things get increasingly more violent, to a breaking point. And we see, just again how once the women start winning, once they start gaining some ground, the guards change the rules. The patriarchy makes it so it's now okay to violently retaliate against these women. And it definitely reaches a breaking point. It reaches a point by the end of the book where it might be a bit like too ham-fisted, but we see, okay, this is dangerous. This is why these women have to rebel. This is why they have to fight against the patriarchy. To show them we're not going to be stepped on anymore. It doesn't matter how much you change the rules. We can't allow it. We're going to fight back, no matter how much you threaten us with everything. So yeah, it's just very, very good stuff. Very important stuff. Again, this is probably the most important book being published in terms of just like social commentary, and I mean that extends again past the book into the back matter. The back matter this time includes very thematically, very appropriate, an essay on you can read it better than I can, on victimhood, and how we frame the victim in culture. And how it's important to recognize, yes, I'm a victim, and that does not make me weaker. Here, in all caps, in the essay, victimhood is not the opposite of strength. And it implores people to recognize, yes, I am a victim. I mean, not me, but, people who have been victimized, it's important for them to realize, yes, I'm a victim. That does not make me weak. That is, me being a victim is more on the culture that victimized me more than it is me for being weak. Again, very important back matter essay. This book it's important, and that sounds like, kind of a weak word at this point, just to say something is important. Why is it important? It's important because it's feminist. And that sounds so simple. Feminism has been around for 100-something years now, like starting from first stage feminism with the suffragettes, going to like second stage feminism that you had like during the civil rights movement, and now moving into like third wave and then post third wave feminism. Like, it's been around. This shouldn't be as groundbreaking anymore, but it still is, and that it is why this book is important, because this is still a lesson we as a culture have to learn. And just the letters too in the back, they're important. They're people coming to terms with, how they've dealt with oppression, with the oppression they still have to toss off. There's letters here about people demanding fair wages in a work environment, people coming to terms with their own non-compliance and having to break out of conformity, and fight against their own, patriarchy and all that. It's important, and it's obviously getting to people. It's obviously creating this very personal connection with people, myself included. I'm not, I don't want to co-opt, and that's what I'm afraid of whenever I talk about this book, is I don't want to co-opt the struggle, because I am a cis white man. Like, I'm not going to say I'm the enemy, because I try my best not to be, but I'm not harmed by this as actively as a woman or a person of color. but you know, this still resonates. It's still, I can't empathize, I don't think, but I sympathize. I'm like, yeah, this is fucked up. More power to these people, you know, shed off the chains of oppression, all that. And, you know, even if you are a guy like me, you know, not suffering as much under this, or suffering at all really, under this as a woman or someone, you know, I think this is important to read to get, this is what they're feeling. You know, they're feeling imprisoned. They're feeling literally thrown to the ground. And in cases they are violently, you know, treated violently, made victims of. And it's more as this is, you know, it's a metaphor, but it's a metaphor for the current times, for the world that they're living in. And just getting that perspective on things, again, makes this book important. So that is Bitch Planet issue number 5. And that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Again, if you're interested in the Marvel books, that's in part 1, DC books part 2. And if you're interested in my thoughts on The Wicked and the Divine, I am finally caught up on that. New issue came out today, and the next video is going to be all about The Wicked and the Divine, issues 1 through 14. So if you're interested in that series at all, please join me for that. But that is it for this video. Again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to, please subscribe. Any comments, questions, anything whatsoever, feel free to leave them down below. Thank you for watching one more time, and I hope you'll join me for some more comic book reviews.